All right, welcome to the install video for the Bosch CM10GD 10-inch miter saw dust collection adapter. Let's first take a look at the tools we're going to need for this. Okay, so you'll need number 2 Phillips. You'll need this Allen wrench that comes with the saw. It hangs out behind the fence over here. And you'll need a spring clamp for holding the guard in the up position. Okay, let's take a look at what comes in each box. So if you receive a shipment from me, most of these things will be pre-assembled, and we'll go through that in a minute. But if you 3D print your own parts, this is what you will have coming off the printer. You'll have the hose and vacuum adapter. You'll have the main chute. You'll have these 2 wedges, or 4, depending on how you print them. And you'll have this cord clip and hose adapter clip. The other things you'll need commercially are some rubber drawer liner, this 1.5 inch tubing, approximately 9.5 inches in length. 9 inches works fine, from McMaster Carr, some zip ties, and M4 or 4mm thumb screws or panhead screws, at least 12 millimeters in length. Okay, so these are all the components that you'll get if you're unboxing from me. Let's do a basic assembly here. So this drawer liner, I'll have the size that you need to cut it to in the instructions, but it slides into this track. This track has a little bit of a one-way feature to it, and then we'll use those wedges to lock in the top corners. So you push it in until it's fully seated in the bottom. You can see it kind of in the track there, and so it should be symmetrical all the way around. So I'm just kind of shoving it back in there. And if you purchase from me, this is of course pre-assembled, and I offer replacements of these on my Etsy. Then you just take one of these wedges, flat side in, and push it down in there. That locks the top of that drawer liner into place in that track. Same thing on both sides. And there's how the chute will come pre-assembled from me. Okay, the next thing I like to do is attach this clip. This tapered side and threaded side goes down. This tapered side goes up and the clip faces you. And then I take a single zip tie. I wrap it around from back to front. Just kind of get it in there roughly together. If you got it in the box from me, this is how it's going to come. You can add a second one to strengthen that up. I'm not going to tighten all those I'm not going to tighten those all the way up for right now. Okay, so this is how everything's basically pre-assembled for me. Now, if you happen to, I bought a few different sizes of thumb screws. If I ship you 2 different sizes, just remember that the shorter ones go on the left and the longer ones go on the right. I may transition to all one size, but the left side really just needs 12 millimeter long, and the right side, I was trying a couple different sizes, so I ordered some 16 and 20 millimeter. But just know, if I have 2 different sizes in the box, use the long ones on the right side. I'll show you why in a little bit. Okay, the next thing I like to do is just pre-assemble everything. This just threads right onto the tubing. Do about 1.5 turns. Go ahead and thread both sides. Again, it's 1.5-ish turns. And we can fine tune this later. But that's pre-assembled. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go over to the saw and take off the stock dust adapter. I'm going to sub in that footage here from when I did the 12-inch saw. So let's go. You'll watch me remove that on the 12-inch saw, and then we'll pick up. Okay, so there are 4 screws that hold on the stock port. You'll need a number 2 Phillips screwdriver to remove them. There's 2 up here and 2 on the opposite side. And moving around to the other side, there are 2 screws that come in here from this side. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 screws from the back side here first. Now I have one of them out because I take this thing off and on a lot for demonstration. So let's get a good camera angle there. Now this screw is threaded into the plastic and there's a washer on it.
So when it comes out, you're going to want to make sure you keep hold of it. And that's the screw you're taking out. And there are 2 of them. So like I said, I only have 1 of them in there right now, but retain both of those. Now go ahead and remove both of these screws. And again, for all of our testing, we only kept 1 screw in. Made it easier to take this arm off. And this should slide just straight out to the side like that. Now what I like to do, because I may use the stock port again or I may sell this saw, is I just put those screws right back into their holes in the casting. And I thread the screw back in the back side of this plastic. That way I don't lose the screws and they stay together. You won't use any of these screws for the new chute. Okay? While we've got our number 2 Phillips out of the way, or out, we can also remove this cord clip right here. It just pops right off. It's a little cold in my garage.
Okay, so now we're ready to install. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my spring clamp and clamp my guard up and out of the way. And the next thing I need to do is access these 2 screws. This bar gets in the way a little bit. If you need to loosen it for the first time, you can use this Allen wrench. And then this is knurled, and I just leave this thing finger tight. It really doesn't have to be super tight, and that is something that you might remove for blade changes and other things. So just let that hang free like that, and then you can use a number 2 Phillips to remove these 2 screws and this rear guard stamped piece of steel. We are not going to reuse these screws, but we are going to reuse this rear guard assembly. Use caution. Some of the ears, I think, might have used Loctite. The casting itself is a through hole, but the actual threads are in this steel rear guard. So when you're breaking these loose, just be careful so you don't strip anything. I'm going to change camera angles here.
I'm just going to back these screws all the way out.
And that's the rear guard piece. Now we're going to do the same thing. You can just set that aside. These are, I think, 10mm screws. Okay, now that we have it removed from this side, we're going to go around to the other side of the saw and remove it over there. I'll see you on the other side of the saw. Okay, here's why this side uses a little bit longer screws. It has to come through this piece of steel, which protects the cord back here, and then it goes through the casting, and then it threads into this rear guard. So I'm just going to remove these 2 screws right here. Same technique. I'm going to try not to run into my camera stand here with the screwdriver. It's kind of a weird angle. There we go. All right. Okay, so there's that piece out. Now we're going to do one more pre-assembly step. I'll see you back on the workbench. Okay, so these are the 4 machine screws that you just removed, and we're not going to use those again. So if you want, you can wrap a piece of masking tape around them and tape them somewhere on your saw or put them in a hardware drawer. We are not going to use these again. But we are going to use both of these 2 halves of the rear guard assembly. Here you can see that they're threaded. So that's where the threads are in that area. Now, we have these little clips in here that hold them in place. So this clips right in. You just slide it straight down in like that. Excuse me. Slide it straight down in like that. and that holds it in place, lined up with those holes on the outside. So you can see this side's a little longer, or excuse me, you can see the side's a little wider right here. And so that's going to allow these thumb screws to just come in and clamp that casting right here. So next we're going to go ahead and install this. So I'll see you back on the saw. I like to put my thumb screws right here on the table of the saw. And we're just going to slide this thing straight up into position and push it straight up through like that. Grab one of the thumb screws. So the nice thing about this change is it just uses these thumb screws. So if you ever have an interference where you need to get this thing out of the way, you just take off these 4 thumb screws. I'll just do that real quick. And you pop this thing out of the way and do whatever cuts you need to do without this thing in your road. So now we've got these 2 thumb screws installed. We'll just go around to the other side and do them. There you have it. This thing's on and it's pretty rock solid. Okay, at this point in time, you can just reattach this guard bracket. And you can even let the guard fall back down. Now, I've already removed this, but there's this cord clip right here and this flange bolt that's in here. And you're just going to take it out and you're going to reuse it. So this is a tight little fit. You got to press this screw in here. And then you're going to need your number 2 Phillips. And this threads right into the side here. You can get those zip ties out of the way. I don't trim them until after I've got it installed. So now you can get those threads started. You do have to, yeah, let's lock this guy in place so it's not moving. So you do have to apply some inward pressure to get those threads started. And then this is designed to sit flush along the arm. Oh, I actually recommend you route the cord underneath this. So I screwed that up. I'm going to go ahead and undo it. Put the cord back behind it. So I route the cord underneath. And now it's actually a good time to put the saw head back down, which ends up compressing this tubing. So I locked the saw head in the down position. Completely forgetting what I'm doing here with my install steps. And now that's a lot easier to line up and install. Now you can position this where you want it. Get your zip ties really ratcheted down there. Okay, now you're ready to hook this into your dust extractor. You can come in here with any 1.5 inch or smaller male coupler, or 1 5/8" or larger female coupler, and then adapt to it. You do have to be aware of the clearances around the motor here. The stock elbow, I think, can flare over this, and if you ever need to change the size of this to flare it to accept other male adapters here, or neck it to fit into other things, you can use a heat gun to form this, and then just get it up to at least right around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, or you could dip it in boiling water if you wanted to and form it quickly. But this plastic can heat form pretty easy if you need to make a custom adapter. Okay, let's take a minute and look at some of the pros and cons of this specific model. Okay, so this saw has a lot less clearance than the 12-inch saw, but our stock collector has more clearance when plunging. Just for frame of reference, this block of poplar right here is 3 inches tall, and you can see you can cut right through that, no problem. This chunk of pine is 4 inches tall, and I could cut that up against the stock fence. But this saw actually cannot cut deep enough because the arbor there, it's going to bottom out on this chunk of wood. So when plunging, this saw actually allows you to cut the max capacity. So you should be able to cut 4x4s on this. Now, when gliding, that's a little bit of a different story. So right there, the blade is just through, let me get a good angle here. Right there, the blade is just through the floor of the table here. And I think we are at right around 1.5 inches, 1 5/8 inches. So when gliding, you're a little bit more limited to the height of or thickness of a workpiece. Now, I will tell you, you can start a plunge and you can get it back behind the fence here, but you can't come out to the max travel. Here you're limited to 1 inch and 5/8 thick. So as long as you're doing something that is narrower than, what is that, about 10 inches, you won't encounter that limitation. This can cut in all bevels and miters up to the full 45 degrees that the saw will do, and you just have to adjust your fence around it. A couple notes that I would like to say is this thing is designed to contain everything that the blade throws off. So if you cut a chunk of wood like that as an offcut and you don't have this supported and it rotates into the blade and kicks back, this chute can be damaged by that. So what I'd ask you to do is, whenever possible, adjust this for zero clearance. This saw is pretty cool. It allows you to loosen these Allen screws and adjust it for zero clearance, or throw a strip of fast cap zero clearance tape on here. And something I'm going to do in a later video is show you a way you can make a little zero clearance fence that's shorter here to keep the heel of a workpiece from kicking back and just prevent that blade from grabbing things and lifting it. Really, if you're supported on the plate and you're supported at the heel, you're not going to have kickback issues. And of course, don't cut round things on the miter saw. So anyhow, that's about all I have to say about that. I think I'm going to end the video there. Let me know if you have questions. I'd love to hear your feedback.
Hey, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new here, I'm going to throw a subscribe button right above me. Feel free to click it if this is something you're interested in. I'll have lots more videos like it. I'm going to put a couple videos over here to my right that I think you'll enjoy. Feel free to check them out. If you found some value in this video, hit the thumbs up button. That helps this video do a little bit better. So do your comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this video or your tips that go along with it. Thanks again for watching all the way to the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.